Welcome to Whispering Loudly, the award-winning Workshop Whisperer podcast, as featured by Apple, with Rachael Evans, the #1 automotive business coach in the aftermarket. Thanks to Platinum sponsor Podium and Titanium sponsor Mechanic Desk.
Welcome to Whispering Loudly, the Workshop Whisperer podcast, as featured by Apple. And we're so happy that you put us in your ears today. We've got listeners all around the world and super excited about that. Jeff Hazzeldine is in Melbourne at the moment and he owns SCS 4WD. Really excited to have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming on, Jeff.
It's okay. Thanks very much for having me.
Hey there, Jeff. Thanks so much for coming on.
No worries, Rachel. Good. How are you?
I am well. And for you listening out there, Jeff and I have known each other for a number of years now. Jeff was the very first ever client of the Workshop Whisperer. So this is a special episode of Whispering Loudly today. Jeff, can we start out by you just explaining a little bit about how SCS 4WD Centre came to be?
I bought the business off the previous owner in 2006. So it was an ongoing business specialising in only four-wheel drive. So we only service four-wheel drives, custom work and kitting cars up to go around Australia, which is what I bought the business as. Since the crash of 2009, we had to reinvent the business because the majority of our business was grey nomads. But now that is the least part of our business, as most of our part of our business is family cars and touring vehicles to go around Australia.
Amazing. So where is the business at right now in terms of the size of your team and the size of your shop?
We've got a shop of around about 750 square metres undercover. We have 2 full-time mechanics, an apprentice, a part-time fabricator and auto-elec, and also 1 admin staff as well. So we're only a smallest type business, but our work defines that we don't need to be a huge shop to run. So.
Absolutely. And I guess at some point you saw a gap in the market in order to, really move into this specialist four-wheel drive spot that you reign supreme in.
Yeah, for me it's a passion. I've always camped and caravan my entire life, and my parents introduced me to it when I was a kid. So for me to be able to have the opportunity to buy a shop that actually specialised in that was a bit of a dream of mine to come true. So mine was a vision of mine and still becomes a vision of mine of where I want it to be. And it also enables me a lifestyle that I really enjoy because it enables me to get out to the outback and camping and caravanning as much as I can. So amazing.
It always makes work that little bit more pleasurable if you're tying in passion. That's brilliant to hear. So Jeff, as my longest and most loyal engine room client, I've seen and been there for the best and worst of your business life. And I know, even personally, that business and personal life really are one and the same. How do you think you've been able to overcome the inevitable challenges that life throws at us all? What have been your top strategies there?
One has been having a good support crew around you, whether it's you as my business coach. Dean Evans has been a real mentor of mine too over the last 4 or 5 years, and I've known him. A good family and friend structure as well, and having people to bounce ideas off, and I suppose being vulnerable enough to open up when you're actually struggling personally is something that I've learned over the years, especially in the last 3 or 4 years. That if you can't, you need to be able to open up and be able to talk to the people that are closest to you to be able to get through those hard times.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly with every single one of those. The engine room community, if we can talk about that just for a moment, what's that meant to you in the last couple of years?
The engine room has been a great source of support, and also it's a bit of an inspiration because you get to look at other businesses as well and seeing what they're doing. It actually inspires you to actually roll your sleeves up and have a go and do the things you normally wouldn't. When I first joined the engine room, as you know, I hated tech. Tech was the biggest vein of my life. But the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, I've really sort of engrossed it, enveloped it, and, we've come a long way in that sort of thing. Even the friendship out of the engine room, my best friend I met in the engine room, it was a long way. I was best man at his wedding last year, just before COVID hit. So, I've got some lifelong friends out of the workshop whisperer, at the engine room and that sort of stuff. I think the greatest thing for me is also having like-minded people around you all the time to bounce and just throw an idea up. I can ring anyone in the engine room and anyone can ring me, and we can bounce an idea or a problem-solving problem off each other. And it doesn't have to be in a workshop whisperer time, that we can actually support each other. So I think the support that we get to know once you get to know the people in the engine room is the greatest source of that the engine room is value for money, is for me anyway.
Beautiful. And I think that any community where you're able to be surrounded by your peers who are on the same journey as you, looking for the same outcome as you, where you can find that's a beautiful thing, and something that we should hold on to wherever we can.
Join our free Facebook group, Your Profitable Auto Repair Shop, and join in on the conversation with auto repair shop owners just like you globally.
What are 3 things you've put in place to make SCS 4WD Drive a better business?
I would have to say the number one thing is probably consistency. Now, like being consistent, everything that we do, the systems that we've put in place to enable us to be consistent in everything that we do, whether it's just making a phone call or making sure we return phone calls, having structures set up around the way we do our work and that sort of stuff, and workflow. Probably the best things, having the right software packages in your business to run your business through as well. Also help to no end, because when I first started, we were just using MyOb, and it didn't cut it until we moved to a specific software program that enabled us to grow heaps, and made us so much more money by capturing it, being able to do everything and measuring everything that we do in the business, whether it's return on investment for advertising or our product efficiencies, and that sort of stuff really helps as well.
So for our Whispering Loudly listeners who are, out there, they listen into every episode, consume as many tidbits of information, nuggets of gold as they can. If I was to say to you, what's your number one piece of advice out there for what you've implemented when it comes to owning and running a successful repair shop? What's the number one thing you'd say to someone out there?
The number one thing for me would actually have to be you. To be completely honest, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the coaching that I receive and learning how to run a business, because like most of us, I'm just a mechanic. I have no idea how to run a business, and actually having someone that's industry specific, that knows how to run a workshop and gives us all the little bits of information and the little things we never even think of, annual price rises and how is our margins going and all that sort of stuff. If I didn't have that information, there's no way I would be here today.
Well, thank you, Jeff. It's always great reinforcement for me to hear that. I always like to make sure that you take your slice of the credit, because I can only meet you halfway. Like with any of our clients, you have to meet me there, and then you have to do the work, which is the hard bit. And that's exactly what you've done. And, you just touched there on price rises. And we were talking the other day together about your labour rate and how over, 5 years ago, it was at $75 an hour. Now it's at $150. And because of where you sit in the market, that's going up again.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right. As a small business owner and a mechanic, we tend to think with our hearts, not our heads, as you've taught us, a lot over the years. That we get in our heads, I don't think I'd want to pay that, so I don't think I want to charge that. But it's not about what we think; it's about what the client thinks, and they come to us because of our specialty in our areas of expertise, and especially when you've got a client that's gone to other shops and come to you because they've been recommended to you. I could charge probably $300 an hour, and I still wouldn't lose very many clients because of the reputation that we've built over the years, of working with you and, that sort of stuff, and putting our business on the pedestal that it needs to be at.
Well said. Fantastic. Well, Jeff, thanks so much for joining us on Whispering Loudly today. Congratulations on your journey and where you find yourself right now. And I know that there's even so much more success for you to enjoy that is coming your way. Thank you so much for being our longest serving engine room client.
You are completely absolutely welcome, and I'm here to stay for a lot longer still.
Great to hear. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks for listening to Whispering Loudly, the award-winning Workshop Whisperer podcast, as featured by Apple with Rachael Evans, the #1 automotive business coach in the aftermarket. Thanks to Platinum sponsor Podium and Titanium sponsor Mechanic Desk.